Hi, everyone, and welcome to Informational Interviews. My name is Laura von Stockhausen, and I'm a professional career advisor with More Career Services at the Lundquist College of Business. Today, I'm going to show you an example of what an informational interview might look and feel like. I know this is a topic that brings a lot of stress and anxiety to students such as you. So hopefully this example can show you it's not as scary and intimidating as you might think it is. Remember that informational interviews are an opportunity for professionals such as myself to share my story, to share my experiences. So most people actually really enjoy doing them. It's just a matter of remembering that they've got a limited amount of time and availability. So as long as you, the student, are really flexible, come in prepared with excellent questions, really great professionalism, you can build really great relationships that start out of informational interviews. Speaking of, one of your fellow business students, Lena, actually approached me to set up an informational interview to learn a little bit more about my experience and my background. I see that Lena's giving me a call now, so I'm going to go ahead and welcome Lena in. Before I do that, again, I just wanted to preface and say this is just an example. We're going to give you a quick snippet of what an informational interview for you and another professional could possibly look like. So let's go ahead and bring Lena in now. Hey Lena, how's it going?
Hi Laura, how are you?
I'm doing really great. How's the life? You're in Portland, correct?
Yeah, I'm in Portland right now, enjoying this rare sunny day actually.
Yeah, it's beautiful in Eugene as well. This is quite nice. Well, anyways, I'm so glad that we could find some time to chat. Always eager and happy to help a fellow duck. So tell me a little bit about yourself, Lena. What can I help you with today? What are your interests? Just kind of give me a little bit of the background.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for agreeing with meeting with me. I really appreciate it. And well, actually next year I'm going to be a junior at the U of O. I'm currently studying business and, I'm finding that I'm really interested in the sustainability aspect of it.
Awesome.
I realize, as I get close to senior year and, finding the next steps after, college and graduation, that I need to kind of start branching out and finding, what I'm interested in and what I should pursue. And one of the things I've actually realized that I'm curious about is, whether it's studying abroad or even working abroad after college. And that's, why I reached out to you, because I saw that, you had that experience abroad. So I was tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, happy to help, happy to answer some of those questions. Love to hear your interest in sustainability. Obviously, a topic very important right now. But yeah, I can definitely tell you a little bit about my experience living and working and studying abroad. So I was lucky enough after I graduated from U of O, I spent some time in Scotland. As you can maybe see behind me, I promise I don't have horns. It's actually a Scottish Highland cow painting. So obviously I loved my time in Scotland. For me, it was really, really valuable. I was leaving U of O, probably similar to you. I had a general idea of what I was interested in, but I wasn't really sure how to take those next steps. So for me, spending a year studying and working abroad really helped me figure out what those next steps were. Now, of course, that alone was a big next step. But it felt like it bought me a little bit more time. And it also was a way for me to still learn about myself, still learn about what parts of the industries and job functions am I really interested in. So one thing about myself, I'm sure you were aware of this, is I come from a really heavy sports background. So my initial reasoning in going to Scotland was to study sport over there and to learn as much as possible so that I could really come back to the States and have this kind of little X factor, if you will. I figure lots of people have playing sports experience, even marketing sports experience. So this was kind of my way to add a little bit different experience kind of to my resume and to my story. But I loved it over there. One thing you mentioned potentially studying abroad, which I think is phenomenal. I didn't have a chance to do that during my undergrad, which is what I regretted. So I think it's awesome if you do have the ability. One thing I definitely recommend though, which was great about me being abroad out of college, was I was able to really immerse myself within the Scottish culture. So I had tons of Scottish friends. I had, my local spots and all of that. But that is one thing that I see some undergrad students falling into when they study abroad during their undergrad, is they stick with just their American friends and just taking their Americanized classes. So if you do end up going abroad, I really want to recommend trying to find some local friends and the local spots and things like that. But that was a really great experience for me. I loved it.
Yeah, that sounds like such a fun experience. And, hearing you talk about that, like, that is something I truly want. One thing I am, like, a little curious about is, going there, you're obviously, immersing yourself in a new culture and you're learning a lot of new skills and things. How do you leverage like everything that you've learned, abroad in your job when you come back to the States? Like, how do you make sure you don't lose that part?
Yeah, wow, that's a really great question. When I think about my time through abroad, I think there's some obvious things that really jump out. The ability to work with different cultures, because yes, I had tons of Scottish friends, but also inevitably I had made friends from all over the place, which is also one of the benefits of being in places, that are closer to other places. So at the time, Scotland was still a part of Europe. So I had tons of European classmates, was able to study throughout Europe really, or excuse me, travel throughout Europe really easily. So to me, sometimes there are those really kind of ones that stand out. So cultural understanding, cultural backgrounds, things like that. For me, like I said, working in sports, I really have a passion and a love for soccer. So I knew that in America, soccer is still really growing, but in some places like Scotland, it is king, and everything revolves around soccer, or football as they call it. So for me, I thought that was actually going to be a really great selling point for me. So I was really strategically thinking, what are the industries and the fields I want to go to? Where is that already huge in other places of the world that I could potentially bring that back? But some of the other things that I didn't really think were going to be really beneficial before I went off was just that ability to work autonomously, be on my own. I moved to Scotland for over a year with not a single soul that I knew out there. So just even being able to leverage that, I can figure things out, if that makes sense. I think the hardest part about transitioning to a different country was all the logistics, switching cell phones and bank accounts, and making sure I found safe, reliable housing, things like that. So I think it really just showed me more than anything that I'm resilient, I'm flexible, I'm able to problem solve and figure things out. So I think a lot of that comes with living alone, living abroad, traveling. So really to be able to share stories like that, I think will be really helpful for anybody.
Yeah, that sounds really important to keep in mind. And it's great to hear about someone, who got the opportunity to be able to go and, experience sports abroad, like personally.
Yeah.
I've only known sports here in America. So how was that?
Man, Scotland, they're already a rowdy, enthusiastic bunch, but then you throw some sports in the mix and it is like nothing I've experienced, which was really like why and when I knew I was in the right place. I remember it like it was yesterday. This was close to 10 years ago. And if any of you are soccer fans out there, Spain had just recently won the World Cup, and Scotland was playing Spain in just a European qualifying match. It wasn't the end of the world, but for Scottish fans, it was everything. I saw more passion and fandom in a small Scottish pub than I see at like full American soccer stadium. So for me, it was just, oh my gosh, it blew my mind. To be honest, the closest thing that I can compare it to is like the student section in Autzen.
Yeah.
It was like the student section of Autzen crammed into one little pub for a couple hours. It was great. So yeah, so for me, it was just really cool. And, getting to learn and work with people from all different backgrounds that have worked in different sports. So, I mentioned soccer is a big passion of mine, but I actually am like a water polo player at the end of the day. So going to, with my soccer and water polo knowledge and passion, and then, engaging with people that play netball, which is a sport we don't even have over here, or learning about cricket and rugby in ways that I had never experienced. So it was really great to like open my mind to some of the more international sports and things like that. Like you said, we know sports in America pretty well. We know American football, we got basketball down lock, but it was really cool to experience some of those other sports that I didn't know as much about.
Yeah, that's so awesome to hear. I've never heard of netball either.
Yeah, it's basically basketball without a backboard. And weirdly enough, only women play it. I don't know if I like that. Sports should be open to all, but it is what it is. Now, have you had any interest in working in sports or?
I'm a huge sports fan. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. I used to play tennis. I
Oh,
love
cool.
Williams, and I usually lose a lot of people here, but I'm a huge Patriots fan.
That's okay. I respect the Patriots. You know, I don't want to bring it up, but I'm going to. I know you guys lost Tom Brady recently, but because I'm from the Bay Area, I've always been a Tom Brady fan, so inevitably a Patriots fan. So don't worry, you won't lose any brownie points with me.
Great to hear that. It's very find that. But yeah, so even though I do have, this passion in sports, the idea of like, working in sports and working for a team like never really, seemed interesting to me just because I'm really wanting to find that sustainability aspect.
Totally.
So I just maybe hope like as I'm learning right now as I go through college, like you can find sustainability anywhere. So I'm maybe hoping to speak to like that within the sports industry.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And frankly, the sports industry is a lot bigger than just teams and leagues. So I think this, I'm hopefully one of the right people to ask about this. So I can't help but automatically, when I hear an interest in sustainability and a love of sport, really connect those in the outdoor industry. So whether it's a branding company like Patagonia, a brand like Patagonia or Columbia, even thinking through some of those smaller niche sports and things like mountain biking and rock climbing and some of the brands and leagues and associations that tied with those. The great things about those companies is, Patagonia obviously does not hide their value and prioritization of sustainability, which is awesome. But really just thinking through strategically, right? So if this sport and this company relies on using the earth as a playground and exploration, like those are going to obviously be the countries really committing themselves and investing in sustainability. So, some big brands like we talked about, Columbia and Patagonia, I think are ones to totally check out, but really to think about what are some of those smaller niche sports or niche brands. I know in Portland alone, there's hundreds of outdoor companies. Some of them are small, some of them are bigger than others, but there's tons of opportunities out there. The other thing that I wanted to mention was the nonprofit side of things. I actually spent over 2 years working for a nonprofit soccer organization. And while their prioritization might not necessarily be for sustainability of the planet, they're really thinking about, working with youth and kids and keeping really the important parts of sport and physical activity at the forefront. They're not there to make a bunch of money and sell a bunch of soccer balls, really there to educate the public, the community, and grow involvement and engagement with that sport. I've seen a ton of nonprofits around like secondhand sports as well. So whether it's recycling equipment or getting involved on a more local level with some of those sport organizations. I think there's lots of ways. I think the sports world and the sustainability world are only going to continue to overlap. So I would really keep my eyes open and peeled. If you have a couple of companies that you're interested in, even if you don't see a huge sustainability presence now, I wouldn't be surprised if it is going to be growing in the next couple of years, or even thinking now might be the great time to reach out to them so that they know that you're somebody that's really excited and passionate and interested in this, so that who knows, maybe down the line, they've got some opportunities for you, or they really think about you because you were one of the first students to reach out to them with that topic. But yeah, nonprofits, I'm a big fan of. There's tons of nonprofits in the sports world. And then the outdoor industry. I think those are really two to explore if you do want to look at how you can use your love of sports with your kind of purpose driven around sustainability.
Yeah, that's so great to hear, the like having that hope and knowing that like, the industry that I'm curious in sustainability and is having that ability and that spread into other industries and things like that. That's really great to hear.
Well, it's because of people like you guys. It's people that are passionate and excited and know that we need this.
And yeah, and I would love to be able to connect with anyone in like the nonprofit or the outdoor sports industry to be able to get a little bit more knowledge and insight on that.
Yeah, totally. So I do have a couple of connections at Patagonia that I think would be willing to chat with you. One thing we haven't talked about much is, and I know you might still be exploring, but did you have any ideas about what kind of job roles you're looking for? Are you looking in marketing, finance? What are you thinking?
I feel like at this point, I'm kind of open to anything. I'm still, junior, still taking those classes, still gaining on those. So right now I'm just kind of interested in being able to meet anyone in any industry, in any sector, just be able to garner that, gain that knowledge and be able to find where I would fit in.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's great. I think it's always important to keep your mind open and to be flexible to situations as much as possible. Think about, narrowing that down. I know that's why you're having these conversations with things like that. But happy to help. I do have a couple of connections actually at Patagonia, for example, both in the marketing and in the finance department. So if those are some of those functions you're thinking about exploring, how about this? Do me a favor, go ahead and send me a follow-up email next week, if that's okay. Just as a little reminder email so that I can make sure that things are a little bit hectic right now. So I just want to make sure that I'm not overcommitting people. But I would be absolutely happy to put you in contact with people, or at least kind of poke around and see who might have some information that would be really helpful for you as you continue to explore.
Yeah, I'll definitely be shooting you that email, and I can't wait to be able to connect with all your friends in those industries and to be able to maintain our connection. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I loved getting an insight on your, international experience and in your sports experiences here.
Of course, I know this was a short talk, Lena, but always happy to help. So keep me in the loop, keep me updated. And like I said, I'll definitely reach out. So hit me up with that email next week and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have
Cool.
a good day.
You too. I hope you can enjoy some of that sunshine.
Definitely.
Bye, Lena.
Bye.